Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. And before I discuss this movie, I will be giving a brief health update for anybody who may be interested at the end of the video. It's a happy health update, which I'll be pleased to share with you. The movie I want to talk about is 50 years old, comes from 1976, All the President's Men, starring Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford, directed by Alan Pakula, from a screenplay by William Goldman. Based on the best-selling book that by Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, who these two stars play, um, uh, depicting their investigation into the Watergate burglary and where that led to, and which would ultimately lead to the resignation of President Nixon. So it's a well-known story. I'll just briefly recount how it's portrayed in this movie. It starts with Nixon in his moment of glory. This is 1973. I think he's in the House of Representatives. I think he's about to take or give the State of the Union speech. A few months before, he had enjoyed a landslide victory over George McGovern, so he is in his second term as President of the United States. So we see that newsreel footage, and then we cut to the Watergate burglary, Watergate office complex in Washington, where five men have entered the Democratic National Committee. Not clear exactly what they're doing there, what they're looking for, because it's a bungled burglary. They get caught quickly. And so Bob Woodward, played by Robert Redford, goes down to the courthouse for the arraignment, and he discovers that as he's sitting there, one of the burglars has revealed that he has worked with the CIA, and Woodward eventually discovers that two of the other four burglars also had ties with the CIA. This sounds to Woodward very odd. Not only that, there's two big-time lawyers there to defend these burglars, and Woodward believes that this is there's something fishy here. So begins this investigation. And Carl Bernstein, played by Dustin Hoffman, soon joins the investigation. It's grunt work. It's a 2-year investigation. Much is involved in knocking on doors. The duo managed to get lists of people who belong to different organizations and different areas of the government that may be impacted or may be involved in this, what they discover is this big conspiracy. The people they're interviewing seem to want to give information, but they look scared. Some of them just shut the door in their face. There's lots of scenes in the Washington Post newsroom which are absolutely fabulous. You really think, they did such a great job in the reimagining of the Washington Post newsroom. There's so much activity going on. So all these sources, when they do get people to speak, everybody's anonymous. The big anonymous contact that Woodward has is with the famous Deep Throat. Somebody in the government, an anonymous source, of course, Redford, or I keep saying Redford, Woodward knows who it is, and his boss, Ben Bradley, played by Jason Robards, knows. And I think that's the only people that know, but they know that he's a reliable source. He's high up in one of the branches of the government. So we have these very bright scenes of in the newsroom, and then some of the investigation on the street and going to homes, but especially when Woodward meets Deep Throat, we're in sort of a film noir. There's this feeling of paranoia. They're being watched. They have to meet in the parking garage, the third floor of a parking garage in the middle of the night. Woodward has to put out a red flag, and then Deep Throat calls him and said, where to meet. He's very cryptic in what he says, but the one thing he does say, he says, overall, follow the money. When he first says that, Woodward doesn't really know what he means, but they do follow the money, and they eventually find that there's there's a secret fund within the Republican National Committee of over $1 million, in effect a slush fund. And he finds all these checks of people that have donated to this fund, which is being administered by the Attorney General of the United States, John Mitchell, who eventually does go to prison. And they were used mostly for dirty tricks. Nixon, despite his landslide, was always known as Tricky Dick. And his congressional campaigns, the Senate campaign, are considered some of the dirtiest campaigns in U.S. history, but somehow he got on the ticket and went served as vice president, even though Eisenhower wanted to drop him in '56, as Eisenhower never liked him. So in the film does mention the effectiveness of some of these dirty tricks, because in the Democratic primaries, preceding Democratic primaries, Senator Muskie from Maine, he was the front runner. And in head-to-head polls against Nixon, Muskie was ahead. So Nixon did not want to run against Muskie. He wanted to run against McGovern, who thought was a much weaker candidate. So they sabotaged the Muskie campaign unbelievably to the point where when the primary started, Muskie was, in most states, he was and also ran. So there was a great deal of effectiveness in dirty tricks. And that's why they had so much money, $1 million. Today, I don't know, what would that be, $5 million? There's a great deal of entertainment value to this film, because it's like a detective movie. You might get there's a little bit of repetition and the constant knocking on doors, but they wanted to obviously portray, what it was really like to be an investigator. It's a whole lot of work going on here. One of the things I disliked, or I didn't like about the film, was that Katharine Graham, the owner and publisher of the Washington Post, is not portrayed in this movie. She is referred to because when reporters write stories where they say anonymous sources, then the government can go to court to get the reporters to reveal their anonymous sources. And it's said referred in the movie that Katharine Graham would be the one. If anybody's going to go to jail, I'll be the one to go to jail. And you could make the argument she's the real hero of uncovering the Watergate story, because it was a minor story. They had two relatively inexperienced reporters on it. They made a mistake. She stood by them after the mistake. She said all reporters make mistakes at one time or another. And she kept going forward with it. As I said, it was a 2-year bumpy road to what they finally were able to uncover. So, in the supplements, we get a series of interviews that's broken up. It's really one long series of interviews, which they break up into about 6 different sections. They're very much out of date. They were all recorded in 2006. We do get to see Ben Bradley, who really stood by these 2 reporters through thick and thin. And we do see very shortly Woodward and Bernstein. But this is 2006, 20 years ago. Nothing to do with what the world is today. It was a big difference between '76 and 2006. But nobody could have ever envisioned what the U.S. is going through in 2026, especially vis-a-vis newspapers, which are largely in Washington Post itself has been pretty much gutted. Cable news and all the biases that come out in talk radio, and then we have the internet. So whatever you want to believe, you can go on the internet and you can find 1,000 different people that are going to enable you to believe what you want to believe. So the search for truth is not, there is no truth now. The truth is what you want to believe. And so this is a sea change in 50 years in American politics, the American political system. Everything is basically out in the open, and there doesn't seem to be much movement to prevent what's going on. So I would have loved a supplement in 2026 to try to put it might as well be 1776, 1976 in some sort of context. So this is a really entertaining film. I believe it did win the Academy Award for Best Picture. I think Network, which is soon to come out from Criterion, also was from 1976. So it was a pretty good year. Now, as far as, and it is in Dolby Vision, it looks fantastic. To my untutored eyes, look fantastic in Dolby Vision, especially the darker scenes. And as for my medical update, for those of you who follow my channel for a while, about a year and a half, I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, meaning it was in both lungs, hadn't progressed anywhere else. And I was on traditional chemo and Keytruda, another drug. It was starting. It had the drugs I was taking were holding at bay, but then the last drug I was on which made me so sick, it had started to progress again. I was ready to say, let nature take its course. But there's a new drug, new medicine that was approved for Medicare back in August, and the test results were really good. I started taking it in November. I had immediate positive results from this medication. And just a couple days ago, I had a CAT scan, my first one since I started this new medication. And it shows a dramatic decrease in cancer cells in both my lungs. So I'm very, very happy, almost unbelievable, I would even say miraculous turn of events in my medical life. And I do want to appreciate everybody who has supported me through the last couple of years. It's really helped in being to endure some rough spots as far as how I was feeling. So thanks a lot for everybody who listened. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.